Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Noclip Crewcast. This is episode 193. Danny is still off. He is touring the world. He's doing the Noclip tour, interviewing loads and loads of very talented people, and also, I assume, drinking some fantastic beer and eating some fantastic food from the photos I've seen on his Twitter. But we're joined, as always, by the lovely Jeremy Jane. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm doing wonderfully. I need to drink some more coffee. As you saw in the intro, I was holding up a mason jar of coffee. It's let's see how many. Seems to be about 600 milliliters of coffee remaining. So we'll try to work our way through that.
Perfect. Hopefully, we can get through that in the next hour and a half, roughly, maybe 2 hours. Who knows? We'll push it if you need more time to get through that many milliliters of coffee. Also, thank you for using a regular measurement that the rest of the world uses.
I'm sorry. What I really meant was
that's okay.
Seems to be about 20 ounces.
Boo. However many that is, I couldn't tell you. But we are also joined by the beautiful, the sweet, lovely man returning from his second trip to Japan, first trip to Korea of the year, and maybe ever. Frank Howley. Frank, how was your time over in Korea? I'd love to know. I know you love Japan. We don't need to ask you about that. But Korea, how was Korea?
No, Korea was great. I was just telling Jeremy, like, I'm still extremely jet lagged, and it's like finally catching up to me. But I'm also getting on by the time this podcast is out, I'll be at LAX in the International Lounge. I had a breakfast burrito last time, so I'll probably do that again. But I'm about to get back on a plane, so I'm like, is it worth fixing the jet lag? I think I'm just gonna go nonstop until I can sit down on a plane and just crash. So we'll see. But no, I'm very happy. I'm truly like. I'm already mentally planning my next trip to Japan, but Korea itself, I was just telling Jeremy too, the food was phenomenal. I don't think I've ever had so much food in my life. The portions in Korea are so big. I would even say bigger than Texas. So I had a lot of food. I had the best poke of my life multiple times. I like legit authentic Korean food and kimchi and all this stuff. And so, I don't know. My belly and heart is full, and my suitcase was full of anime and wrestling merchandise from Japan. So
yeah, I want to hear about Japan too.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if you took Danny to any wrestling events, or if you threw him into a dumpster. What did you do while you were there?
I think I did tell Danny that if we ever go to Japan, that I need to take Danny and everyone to wrestling shows.
You're taking the one where they're breaking glass on people and it's just flying into the crowds.
I did get to see that, so I did get to go to Jun Kasai's Tokyo Deathmatch Carnival, Ending Summer Crazy Style was the full name of the event.
That's amazing.
And yeah, it was better. It was amazing. People in the front row were wearing like masks and ponchos because of glass flying in the audience. There was a match called the Four Corners of Pain.
Oh my God.
Which, like, in one corner there's like, panes of glass. One is like they do a thing where they have like a table, and then they have like cut up cans taped to it so that barbed wire. But then what one person did was someone did like a spot with a fishing reel. And they put a fishing hook in a guy's mouth.
No,
stood on the other end of the ring.
No,
and was fishing him. The thing came out of the guy's mouth, flew past the wrestler, and went into the crowd. But at these shows, wrestlers are in the front row, kind of like literally prepared for moments like this. And the fishing hook caught a bystanding wrestler in the arm, and he started bleeding in the arm from the rogue fish hook. It was an incredible time. It was an incredible time.
Dude.
It was great. It was awesome.
Terrifying.
I feel like if the fish hook came to you, I feel like you would have hooked yourself and signaled reel me in.
No, please.
That's one of those moments where you like catch a baseball at a game and you're just like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah,
I got the
wrestling
fish hook.
equivalent.
Yeah, take me in.
Yeah, you catch it. There's like a kid or an old lady sitting next to you. You hand them
Here you
the
go,
fish hook.
Grandma, and they
You're
yank her into
Listen, I got a lot of fish hooks left to catch in my life. That sounds awesome.
That's how you're supposed to do a fun trip in Japan, is just risk your life and limb and did they make you sign a form so that if anything happened? No, it wasn't one of those.
I feel like people know what they're getting into, like standing outside Kirkenhall waiting to go in. Everyone, like, They do this event. I mean, the promotion's called Freedoms because it's like fight for your freedoms, whatever. But it's like Tokyo's hardcore like wrestling promotion. But like everyone there is wearing like deathmatch T-shirts and stuff. Like the crowd's ready for it. So it was such a fun time. And then I did get to see 2 different Stardom shows. One was now my new favorite wrestling venue called Shinjuku Face, which is in the Yakuza level of Japan. No, in Kabukicho, Shinjuku, which is Kamurocho and the Yakuza games where the Red Gate is. In that level, and it's the same thing in real life or in Yakuza, there's like you can see where the Sega arcade is. There's that big open plaza courtyard. There's an arcade, and in real life too, there's like an arcade that's like 7 stories. On the top floor is this venue called Shinjuku Face, but it requires like a drink minimum when you go inside, so you have to buy drinks. But because of that, compared to all the wrestling shows and other venues, the crowd is actually like pretty hot and lively. So people were screaming and cheering. And then at one point, 2 of the wrestlers were fighting directly in front of me, like in the crowd. And it was like, oh my God, literally had the best seat. So now I want to go back maybe in January because one wrestler I like is hosting an independent event called Sorryism. I think it's like January 26th in Shinjuku.
Is that a Canadian event?
I don't know. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Sorryism.
Her name is Sari with 3 E's. Sareee. She's very cute. She does these incredible drop kicks. She's amazing. So I want to go to her show. But I don't know. I love it. I felt way better the second time. And then I don't know if we'll talk about it, but I did pick up the K-On! Video game in Akihabara.
Oh, cool.
Leaving the trader sticker on, and lots more stuff. But it was awesome. But again, in the world of video games, not just Akihabara, not just Japan, we have Japan studios with Astro Bot and more and Sony stuff. But yeah, how's everyone been on the Noclip front? I've been AFK for 2 weeks, I think, right, on the podcast, but you guys have been keeping it going.
Yeah, we've been chilling. We came up with the next great video game movie. Frank, we're going to need your help writing the script for the next great video game movie.
I'm in.
We got the Silent Hill rom-com, the Mario eco-terrorism movie. It's all happening. But it's been good. The Dust to Dock came out a couple days ago, and it's doing quite well. It got reposted by the guy who invented Counter-Strike, so that was
so
very
cool.
Weird and surreal. I actually, this is a good segue into, I wanted to talk about how Dave Johnston, the guy who we interviewed for that doc, is like was the nicest guy ever when I interviewed him. But when the doc came out, I feel like it's like the joke where there's like a guy talking to like a pretty lady on the internet, and everyone is like, "Hey, thanks again for like saving my cat from that tree. Thanks again, or thanks for helping me out when my like grandma was sick and she needed to be like." People make up scenarios about how that person is the best guy. I feel like the comments for the Dust 2 documentary are that for Dave Johnston. There are 1,000 comments that are like, "Oh man, I used to work with Dave. He's like, I've never met a nicer guy. He's the coolest guy." And then there's like 1,000 other comments for like, "Yeah, I used to know Dave. Like he helped me one time. I sent him a bunch of maps that I was designing for Counter-Strike, and I didn't even expect a reply. And he wrote back with like an insane design document with like notes and like feedback and like, oh, this is really cool. I really liked this. I wonder if you could like push it in this way." Like it just, I feel like everyone who's interfaced with Dave Johnston in their life has had.
You almost did it again.
I know, Jesus Christ. Well, I was about to say something about the blooper, so it's on my mind. I was primed for it. The other thing is that I posted in our Discord, but so at the end of the documentary, there's a blooper where I fuck up his name and call him Dave Johnston. And he emailed me back because I sent him the doc and was just like, "Thank you so much. Like, this was awesome. I really appreciate your time and stuff." And he sent it back and said, "I really enjoyed watching this. I thought it was great. You did a great job." And then at the end of his email, he signed it Dave Johnston. And I was like, damn, this guy rules. He's just like, I don't know. He was like humble and cool. Everyone has nothing but nice things to say about him. And then he just like, on top of it all was just like down for the joke. So it was cool. It's like, it's nice when you call attention to someone who has that level of like someone who's done something that's such a massive contribution to the history of games, but other than that is just lays so low. Like, it's just doing his own thing. It's such a private guy. And then, you call attention to them and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that guy's the best guy." And it was just very heartening to see, almost like more heartening than the response to the doc is just people be like Min Lei, who was one of the creators of Counter-Strike, just come out and be like, you know, he's like this humble, beautiful Chad of a man. And I was like, oh, cool. It's very cool that like the people who actually know him, you know, have such strong positive feelings about him. So I was glad to see the doc do well, and I was glad to see people come out in support of Dave.
Yeah, it seems like you really captured an aspect of the Counter-Strike community, which is that community like mentality, the friendship and the camaraderie that comes with things. Because everyone who shared the doc was joking about the bloopers, was talking about how cool, you know, people were talking in the Noclip Discord how the sharing the doc with their friends sort of sparked the conversation around, you know, what it was like playing the game when they were growing up, and the ways that Dust has impacted their life, the level, different maps from Counter-Strike, that sort of stuff. I mean, you know, as someone who didn't grow up playing Counter-Strike directly, I did do the CS surf map stuff, and even seeing this documentary made me go like, oh, there's aspects of this game that I know nothing about, but I felt like I was introduced to that part of it, that like grassroots sort of like community-led parts of multiplayer games that I feel like isn't really as common now as it was back then. It was, you know, everyone was sort of that underdog developer. If they were making maps, the tools are way better now. So if you were making maps back then, you gave a shit. So it's, I think the respect for Dave is so cool to see. And I'm glad you're able to put this doc together and that people are loving it. And of course, the only way that we're able to make these documentaries that are so awesome is thanks to the support from our patrons over at patreon.com/noclip. If you'd like to join the absolutely exquisite crew of people that keep us going, you can do so. Support this ad-free podcast, support our documentaries. You can get a bunch of bonuses, including videos, podcast episodes, and of course, access to that Discord at patreon.com/noclip. You can also join our Battle Pass tier with our beautiful list of Battle Pass holders. Again, if you are a part of that list and we're not saying your name, sorry, don't have access to it, you know, you'll be on next week's when Danny's back, or in 2 weeks when Danny's back. But in the meantime, thanks to those Battle Pass supporters, including Eamon Slattery, Harry Flanagan, Battle Royale Games, Arno, Richard Matherson, James Brown, Mark Rojas, Ryan Cobb, Tucker Morgan, David McGarry, Sven Hooster, Pez, Nate, Tim Robinson, Forrest Pruitt, Jonathan Kremen, Eric Hamilton Schneider, Zachary Snader, Alex Sharp, Alex Goucher, George Zerkotis, Jacob Godserve, Tohir Tiliev, and Ryson. Thank you all so much for your support, allowing us to make really great documentaries, make podcasts, and of course, buy video games that we can talk about on this Crewcast, including a new hot one that Frank alluded to a little bit earlier. The latest game from Team Asobi, who made Astro's Playroom. If you own a PlayStation 5 and haven't played that yet, you're doing yourself a disservice. Their latest game, Astro Bot, is launched. Here it is. Frank's holding it up for all the video viewers out there. You can see the beautiful cover for the game with the lovely bot himself, or themselves. I don't know. It's not a gendered robot. They can do whatever they want. This game, I am loving Astro Bot right now. I'm not too far into it. I just got back from the boys' trip over the weekend to Boston, which I didn't even talk about, but whatever. I had fun. It was good, but not as good as Astro Bot. I hope none of them are listening to that because that's a joke. I had a really good time. But Astro Bot, yes, it's a 3D platformer again from Team Asobi. They've been doing stuff for PlayStation for the last couple of years. I think like a decade now, actually, maybe even more than that. They're more known for doing sort of tech demo video games that show off the qualities of PlayStation's hardware. Their first title was the Playroom and Playroom VR, which showed off the tech for PlayStation 4, Astro Bot Rescue Mission, which I have not played, but I've heard is a really good 3D platformer in VR. And then, of course, Astro's Playroom. And this latest game is it's just a joy to play. Astro Bot is just like, of course, I think if you've heard of this game, you've already heard the word joy attached to the end of its name. I'm not too far into it. Like I said, maybe the first 2-ish worlds in the game, like maybe 3-4 hours. I'm loving it. Frank, how are you feeling about Astro Bot? I know you've played some of it yourself since you've got back from your trip.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like I think we were in Korea at the time when the game came out and reviews came out. And it was just 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. And I was like, well, okay, I got to get it. And normally I get games digitally, but it's like, well, I'll just order it physically. That way, by the time I get home, I have it. And it's funny playing like this game that's all about PlayStation Legacy to actually have a physical game, like back in the old days. This was like the talk of the town too at the Summer Games Fest State of Play. Like I didn't have a PlayStation appointment, but I remember talking to like Dan Reichert and like some of the Giant Bomb people, and they were like, "Yeah, this is a way above the best game of Summer Games Fest." I think even Dan Reichert at the time was praising it as like, "Yeah, this might be one of the best platformers ever." That was his words back then. I don't know if I'm sure it's still true, but this game is so charming. Also, as I've been saying, I'm so sleep deprived that I can't focus on any game or long-term thing right now. Astro Bot, oh my God, you can do a level in like 5 minutes, beat it, rest at home, go whatever. You can play, pause the PlayStation, put it in rest mode, come back. It's so delightful. It's so colorful. It's also it's the same thing as the 2020 like launch demo game, but this is a way more full scale version of it. It's so dense with cute Easter eggs, but not even just that, really fun, novel, Mario Odyssey-ass gameplay. I just did a level where you can shrink down, and the whole game is dealing with like scale. I think it's like a cheese planet, and you get to be like a little like mouse. Yeah. That's like one example. It's so adorable. And very satisfying. And yeah, playing it with the PlayStation 5 with the haptic feedback, the rumbles, the sounds. One thing that was amazing, I just set my PlayStation controller down because I was taking care of something else, and then from the controller, all of a sudden you hear like the honk shoe like snoring like the Astro Bot to fall asleep. Like idle animations are always in games, but like it particularly coming from the controller was like, oh, there's so much, like everything vibrates and reacts to you, whether you're just whacking stuff or whatever. It's like there's so much life and density in this game. And like, yeah, again, like Mario Odyssey, or I'm sure other like, phenomenal like Nintendo ass games. This is so good. I'm only maybe 3 hours max into it. I think I'm in the second world. There's also so many Easter eggs and secrets and collectibles. I think this will also be a game where I beat on one run, enjoy, and then go back and trophy hunt and try to find all the things. My favorite thing is finding all the little, I guess we call them Astro Bots, but each level has like 2 or 3 PlayStation cameos. Like I did the level that had all the Parappa dudes, and it was like, oh my God. Abe's Odyssey, just random stuff I hadn't thought about forever. Like I found the Ico girl, and it's like, oh my God. There's Ape Escape stuff, and even while playing, like particularly when I saw the Ico stuff, it's like, oh my God, Ico. I've only played that game once 20 years ago. I hit the guide button on my PlayStation, go to search for it, and it's like, oh yeah, it's on PlayStation Plus. Maybe I should download and play Ico again. So it's like reactivating all my memories of like forgotten PlayStation games, and it's like, oh, this is what a like museum and almost a memoir of PlayStation.
Well,
but yeah,
that is a good point though. So like I think there's a lot to this game. It's it's a 3D platformer, like Frank's saying. You're collecting coins. You're using the coins to buy things. I'll get to that in a second. You're looking for secrets. You're picking up items. If you've played a Mario game, which again Frank has said, it's like Mario Odyssey. It's like Mario Galaxy is the one that I was drawing to a lot when I was playing this, because it's a lot of just like these bespoke, interesting levels that have thematic designs, and they're also using mechanics in really interesting ways. They're really like squeezing all of the juice they can out of every mechanic that they include. None of them are like too overbearing either. I feel like sometimes when you do a large variety of mechanics in something like this, like a 3D platformer, you can kind of go a little overboard. Sometimes they get annoying, but nothing feels like it lasts too long. Everything here is just like super smooth, great to play. It's just a joy. But memoir versus museum for this game, I think is a very easy confusion to make in your brain. So like Frank's saying, there's these bots that you can find in each level. Sometimes they thematically match the level, sometimes they don't. There's a lot of generic ones too. Like you use the bots on this crash site that's at the center of all of these maps. Basically, like you play on an overworld to select each of your levels. And the center point of the overworld is this crash site that you can go to that has all the bots in there. You use the bots to unlock different collectibles. You use collectibles to get more collectibles so you can buy more collectibles. It's like, it's it's one of those. It's nice because you don't have to pay for any of them though, so I don't care. But when you get to the crash site, all of the bots that you've collected over time are there, and you could see them, and they're like, oh, this bot is wearing a Metal Gear Solid costume. This one's wearing a, I don't know, Spyro costume. Is that a thing? I can't tell you. It's a surprise for you to find out. But there's a cynical part of me and it sucks because this game is so joyous. It's just a fucking beautifully fun game to play. It's just joy from the second you start until you stop playing it. Like Frank said, every single moment, every little thing has a vibration to it and a sound effect, and it looks great. And then I'm like, at the back of my mind, I'm like, man, this is what we're doing with some of these PlayStation licenses, you know? I think it's easy to be cynical about that sort of thing and to see like, oh, Jak and Daxter, they're just relegated to being in a, you know, in a museum game. They're just a Funko Pop. That is a bit how I feel playing this game. It's like I'm playing with Funko Pops, you know, bouncing them around on the screen. I bought my Funko Pop, the Funko Pop attachment. So now he has like arm swinging action. That's so cool. It's easy to be cynical, I feel like, when you see this sort of stuff, like, oh no, my favorite franchise is just a Funko Pop now. But also, I don't know, I think things have to kind of die. I think the frustration comes from the fact that PlayStation doesn't have a direction where there's new things to be excited about. It's kind of just like Spider-Man. Okay, it's Spider-Man. Everyone loves Spider-Man. Wolverine. Yeah, it's Wolverine. Like, of course.
I was gonna ask in that vein, as the cynical outsider here, not even cynical, just as an outsider here looking in, is like, I always got the sense that Astro Bot was kind of like the character of Astro in the other ones is kind of like a tech demo character. Like he was kind of like, you know, like Mario is, he's a Italian plumber. It's like that who cares if that's the best narrative conceit ever? It is a narrative conceit, and it is like outside of games. Like it's like who he has an identity. Is Astro just like a fucking PS5 controller? I always thought he was just
so
like a
when you
piece of
start the
hardware.
levels and you select one, you literally fly in on a PlayStation 5 controller.
Yeah, well, so I guess that's what I'm asking is like, does Astro have an identity that is not him, like shilling
Just being the
merch?
PlayStation mascot, basically.
Yeah,
like,
who is he?
he's like I think of like in Jurassic Park, there's like, I'm Mr. DNA. He's like, the Astros are like the neurons that power your PlayStation.
Yes,
so it's
literally.
like, you know, it's like this is what makes gaming run. This is what makes my life. I don't know. It's
it's true.
It's PlayStation Life Force, and what's more important than that?
The conceit for starting the game, like the reason that you're doing everything is you're looking for all of the pieces of your PlayStation 5 spaceship after you got attacked by a giant green booger in an alien spaceship who like shoots your spaceship, and then all the pieces fly off, and you got to find the RAM, and you got to go find the GPU and the CPU, and like so it's Frank, you're right on that.
This would probably tie into last week's theme, but it's like it feels like a very Charlie Kaufman idea of just like you're playing a video game that's about assembling the video game, which feels like adaptation or whatever. Where it's like if you're watching a film about, okay, we have to find the film reel, we have to find the camera and set up the lights to make the thing that we're playing. Like it is very much that, but it's like I don't care. Oh God, it's prop. Yeah. I'm a snake. I'm in. But here's the thing that warrants it though, where it's like. The levels and platforming is so like genuinely fun. That's like, oh, this is all. If it didn't like, if it didn't succeed in those elements, it would be so lame. It would be like, I don't know. That use always the default punching bag is it'd be Ubisoft crap. No, this is awesome. This is awesome.
Those poor French. They're just trying their best.
I gotta try Watch Dogs 2. I hear it's good. It's still on the list. It's still
great.
on the list.
No, I agree with what you're saying for sure. That like because Astro, and this is totally what I'm saying. Like it's easy to be cynical and look at this stuff and be like, oh, this sucks. This is what happens to my brands. But man, this is just a fun game. It's just a great video game, like just top to bottom. And to Jeremy's point, while I think Astro, and this is part of what frustrates me with the whole like, here's all the mascots, here's all the PlayStation brands. I think Astro does legitimately have a pretty decent visual language to him. Like the little face that they have with the robot eyes. A lot of the map and the worlds that you're in don't use like traditional PlayStation branding or PlayStation motifs to build out the levels. It's all very original and unique and like different. And they use the robot face on everything, actually to a comical degree. Like you'll see regular animals walking around, like these little squirrels scurrying around in a map, and they'll have the little robot eyes or like everything. It's very cute and charming and simple and fun on its own. It's just that it like also has the co-opting of PlayStation brands and even non-PlayStation brands. So you've got characters from other things that show up as like cool cameos. I guess cool is maybe the wrong word to use. Some of them are like, whoa, it's a thing I remember from when I was a kid. But for the most part, I'm just like, I kind of wish they could build out more with this already great visual language they've constructed for Astro and the rest of the bots and like just do that.
All right, let me pitch an alternate version of Astro Bot here. Instead of him being a PlayStation branded robot who might present you like an HR video if you worked at Sony, what if he was like a robot who for some reason, like there was like a child, like he crashed to Earth, and there was like a child who was like, I'm dying and I need all my favorite, like if only I could summon the life force that I felt during my childhood playing PlayStation games, then I would not have whatever horrible disease I have. And Astro is like, yeah, we got to go get fucking Jack and Dad. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a world in which you can do the like nostalgia thing without him being a fucking like a PlayStation eye toy. You know what I mean? Like,
totally do like a multiverse thing.
Yeah,
right? If you're gonna do this.
If you're gonna go ahead and do like the PlayStation cinematic universe game, I guess it would be cool to have like the centerpiece of it be like a little less of like a corporate mascot or something, because it's like I said, like Mario has become a corporate mascot, but they didn't sit around and be like, all right, who represents Nintendo? What about he's Italian? He's like, you know what I mean? Like it's not. It feels like it exists on its own for itself, and and I guess like Team Asobi seemed like such a competent and like gifted, talented, whatever studio. From what I gather about these games and the way people talk about them, that it would be cool to see them be able to like break free a little bit of being like this is like the game that comes bundled with your PS5. So you know what I mean? Like
totally,
it has a little bit of that stank on it, and it hurts me to say that because this game looks so like joyful and fun, and I'll probably pick it up at some point. But it does have a little bit of that like corporate whatever propaganda
absolutely
sheen on it.
Yeah, it has the typical problem of like, PlayStation, especially because if you play Astro's Playroom, it's got so much love and like just appreciation for PlayStation, not just as a thing that you remember fondly playing when you were like 14, but also as a thing that like meant something in the space. You know what I mean? Like when you're playing Astro's Playroom, the collectibles you find in that one are consoles. So you'll find stuff that didn't work. Like you'll find stuff that sucks. I think when you get the PlayStation Vita, it's like, hey man, no one bought this. Like I'm pretty sure that like the text that pops up is like some joke about no one buying it or having it. There's little jokes like that where kind of like jabs fun at PlayStation as a brand. And then there's also stuff that loves it. Like some of the bosses are based on stuff you saw in demo discs from the late 90s, early 2000s. Like it's this love for it that clearly they have. But you're right. Like hopefully the next time they get to make one of these, it's not just they're relegated to being the PlayStation 6 packing game. This time you could really see all of the texture and the little bumps on Astro's ass. Like, wow, congratulations. We're finally playing video games. They're too talented to leave them locked into this sort of thing. I hope they get to just make their own video game. I have no problem with it. Again, like to Frank's point, when you see Parappa the Rappa and he does his little floss dance, I'm like, this is great. It's amazing. Or like
none of us are above loving Parappa the Rappa.
No,
let me be very clear.
It's the same thing. And I think I think the cynical part of it is just because we've gone through the last 10, 15 years of brands being homogenized and thrown into the same soup. I mean, the fact that I just said multiverse while talking about PlayStation unprompted is gross. I shouldn't even know that word when it comes to brands. Like, I don't know, you watch Disney, Marvel, whatever the hell, Infinity War. Dude, my favorite action figures are on the screen together. It's like we've done decades of this, so to see it for PlayStation, it's like, I don't know. Although on the other hand, them and Nintendo are probably the only ones that could do this sort of thing. So get it out of the way now as we're approaching what feels like the end of PlayStation's life. Nobody wants the $700 PS5 Pro. Sorry.
Yeah, I think about that a lot with the original Smash Brothers, because I feel like whenever I see something that's like, oh, it's all your favorite characters from all these franchises in one place. Now I wonder if it's the fact that like it was less of a common thing when the original Smash Brothers came out, so it was more
really
novel.
Good point.
Or if it's because I was like fucking 10 years old or whatever. Probably both. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like when I saw that happen, I was like, whoa, that's so cool. Like Star Fox is fighting Mario. And now I'm like, I see Fortnite and they're like, Goku is driving to the Shell station. It's like a Shell branded Shell station. It makes me want to eat a gun. Like it's horrible. It's like Ready Player One in all of the, and I mean that as derogatory.
I wonder why, now I'm thinking about it. I was going to say, I wonder why Smash Bros works for me and the other ones don't. And I guess the excuse could be it's Nintendo. I don't even really like Smash Bros. But I think like conceptually it works because it's like respecting, it's to what you were saying earlier about like, why don't they go whole hog and just have Astro show up in God of War world or show up in Ratchet and Clank world. Smash Bros is like everyone comes to the same space. Here it's like, and this is totally framing, here Astro looks like a Funko Pop. He literally looks, all of the things look like Funko Pop. I can't shake the feeling that I'm just playing with the vinyl plastic toys with their little shitty costumes on. I can't shake it. It sucks because the game's great. I have literally no complaints about the video game. It's everything I'm saying here is meta commentary over what is, I think, probably one of my favorite 3D platformers of the year, if not the last couple of years, probably since Super Mario Odyssey. This is the best one that I've ever played. Also, we haven't talked about it yet. The music. Oh my God, the music in this game. The first level, the second you get to move the character around, it is playing some bumpin' bossa nova beats, baby. I love this game's music. I love the way it looks. I love just everything about it. It's, again, to echo everybody on the entire internet who's touched this game at any point, it's just beautiful. Marie Kondo would have nothing to take out of this game. There's nothing to remove. It only sparks joy.
I was just pulling up music.
Yeah,
so
you listen to it here in the jams.
It is a bump in bossa nova beat. Yeah, no, I don't mean any of my cynicism to detract from the level of
Same.
A joy that this game seems to spark in people. I think that's really cool. I also think it's very difficult to, if you were Team Asobi and you had gotten enough freedom to make whatever, and they're like, yeah, go hog wild. It is hard to gin up a new a totally new aesthetic and thematic universe and characters. Like Penny's Big Breakaway is such a good fucking game, and I kind of feel like it's slept on because it's like, so what? It's like clowns or something. You know what I mean? Like it's like yo-yos and clowns.
What the hell? But it's sick. Yeah, it's a great game.
Exactly. It's just like, it's a very good game that does some very imaginative things, both mechanically and thematically. It's just hard to access people's part of their brain where they're like, there's a part of you that when you see something that you recognize, you're like, oh, Mario Odyssey, I know what Mario is. Let's see him do something new. It's easier to get to that than be like, what is this fucking clown game?
Yeah. Especially because, for sure. If you see Kratos on the screenshots, you're like, dude, I know that guy. He's from War Game, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah, exactly.
It's for sure. I wonder how many people see the more obscure PlayStation references and just scratch their head and go, I don't know, what am I collecting? Who is
What's
this?
the most obscure PlayStation reference you guys have seen in Astro
Oh man, some of them I feel like are a little spoilery. Just because
that's true.
Part of the it's a bit like, oh man, who shows up in the new Spider-Man movie? Is it Spider-Man again?
Well, yeah, I mean that's why the Ico thing popped me because it was like, wait, what is this character? And then there was a text that's like, oh, you lead her by the hand, and it's like, oh my God, that's what's funny. You'll see the little robot thing, you'll recognize it most of the time, but then when you collect them, they literally jump into your PlayStation controller or on the screen. The PlayStation controller is visualized, and they jump inside, and the controller vibrates, and you can a trampoline bounce the little Astrobots and play with them, and it'll have the text over what they are, and it's always really always very clever flavor text. I haven't seen it yet either, but I know Kiryu from Yakuza's there, and I think there is the Kamurocho Red Gate also in there. But no, the one that was got me is just I don't know. I think I was too young at the time to get or appreciate it, but it's I still think Abe's Odyssey, all that aesthetic is so disgusting and gross. So when I saw Abe's stuff in here, it's like, oh my God. And again, I know our Noclip audience is older than me and totally it probably has nostalgia for it, and I should give it a shot. But I was like, who cares about Abe's Odyssey? But maybe I should play it. But that was the one that was oh my God, these guys. But at the same time, that was a very OG PlayStation game. But I'm still getting into it. But for me, the one that was the girl from Ico was oh yeah, hell yeah. I was stoked to see that.
That was cool. The only other one I saw that I'll mention was Katamari shows up at a certain point. That was cool. Whatever you call the little guy who pushes the ball.
The Prince.
The Prince.
Yeah, the Prince.
Thank you.
It is. I do get more excited for that, the PS1, PS2, even the Ape Escape stuff as Kratos. On the back of this is Kratos, and it's everyone. I'm sick of seeing Kratos at this point. Cool, awesome, but it's Parappa should have had the spot on the back of the ball. Whatever. It's great seeing Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid, because again, with all, post Kojima, the brand's back on. We're all about with the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, their Legacy collection coming out, but it's still cool to see. There's even Apis in Astro Bot, you can unlock the gotcha machine is back and you spend coins. They even have the Ape Escape dudes dressed as Solid Snake getting in a cardboard box. And it's like, oh, that's so there's like, I don't know. So it's cool to see Metal Gear and everything connecting and stuff. So I was like, I think the second level you see Psycho Mantis and Solid Snake, and it's like, oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
there's,
really cool.
There's a lot of appreciation for non-first party brands. Also, I hate that. I gotta stop saying brands.
See,
like
that's the thing is
characters-
like you have to talk about this game in like corporate language.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
a layer in which it has to be talked about as like advertising.
There was that quote that came out where it was like the president of Sony or CEO of Sony, like someone outside the games division was like, yeah, we don't have enough IP here at Sony and we've really dropped the ball. And Twitter was like, excuse me, sir, you have a, it's like,
Where's
yeah,
Jack and
like,
Daxter 7?
Yeah. The one thing I haven't seen is Twisted Metal stuff in this game because I know. Yeah. I want to see sweet. I want to see a chibi Sweet Tooth. I think that would be badass. Maybe he's in there. I have to play more. Again, I'm pretty. Well, maybe 25% because the game I've heard is 10 to 12 hours. So maybe I'm not that far off from beating it. But yeah, I want to see a chibi Sweet Tooth because I feel like Twisted Metal was something that was so part of PS1's brand, and even Twisted Metal Black on PS2 I loved. And I guess they launched that show that came.
Yeah,
and went,
maybe they'll
but-
put Anthony Mackie in the game. That'll be cool.
Yeah. Although if we're truly are doing talking about Smash Brothers, I wonder if the next Astro Bot they go Smash Brothers and it's like, yeah, let's do all of video. Let's get everything. Let's do
that'd be cool.
Let's do a massive Astro Bot where they discover Xbox and Nintendo, and that's how everyone becomes friends.
That's how we save the games industry.
Astro Bot saves gaming. Well, they are
Yeah.
publishing Xbox games on PlayStation now, right? So we're not one too many steps away from that happening.
That's
Who knows?
what John Lennon would have wanted.
Yeah, imagine
That's what
there's
he
no
died for.
consoles. I
Yeah.
wonder if you can.
Imagine there's no exclusives.
And no religion too. Ooh, whoops, whoa, hey.
I feel like I hope this game seems so cool that I hope that whatever Team Asobi does next, I hope that they're given an infinitely long leash to kind of come up with their own thing beyond being the the PlayStation robot game, because I think in 20 years, if there is a new Astro Bot on the block, there's a new character who's like, oh man, I love PlayStation so much. I want to explore the last 20 years of PlayStation. My concern is that if we spend the next 20 years reminiscing about the previous 20 years, then in another 20 years, we'll still be like, remember Jack and Daxter? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, who was the Jack and Daxter of like 2028? You know what
Exactly.
I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like give Team Asobi fucking let them make the next new Jack and Daxter.
Yeah, what do
Yeah.
we reminisce about? And so I always think about that actually, especially in current times, because I'm coming up on 30, so I'm going to start looking back on what things were like when I was 20, and I'm like, I don't know, nothing. Like, what companies or brands or properties or whatever the hell did I enjoy when I was in my early 20s that aren't also still existing? Like it's not that reminisce about. They're still going. Like what in 20 years are we going to look at exactly? Like is it going to be Horizon or going to be like, oh snap, it's Aloy from Horizon? You guys remember Horizon? Holy crap, it's the Thunderjaw from Horizon. Like I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? Maybe all the kids will just be talking about Roblox and how cool it was to play what is essentially the same thing in Roblox. Hey, Solid Snake in Roblox. Anyway, Astro Bot. It's a really good game. Just don't think about it too hard.
That should be on the box.
Yeah.
Just don't think about it too hard. Just enjoy some IP and don't think about it too hard.
Yeah, enjoy some
I-
intellectual property.
I would love to see like kids' reactions to this, and hopefully this does, like, oh my god, what is Parappa, and play it and discover,
That's
cool-
true.
Yeah.
That's a way more positive, optimistic way of looking at it. Is that
Definitely. Yeah,
like
thank you
young
for finding that
people-
through line.
Young people will see like Astro Bot with a beard on and be like, "Who is Solid Snake? What's that guy all about?" You know.
And then they'll learn about cigarettes, and that's
And that's really, and Philip Morris is one of the biggest contributors to PlayStation. No, I'm just kidding. That's not true. I don't know that.
it's toasted. It's toasted.
It's toasted. Thank you.
No, so additives.
Dude, you're such a madman. Well done. That's good. All right, Astro Bot. Buy it on PlayStation. It's like $60. It's only on PS5. Thank
Comes
you,
with a pack
Team
of
Asobi.
cigarettes.
That's right. Other video games that are out, not just soon, but we live in the past when this is recorded. You live in the future. You live in the now when this game is released. The one that Jeremy's talking about this week, one that we covered a little earlier this year in the Next Fest video that we did in February. But Hollowbody from Headwear Games is launching, if you're listening to this when this episode drops, today on Steam and GOG. Jeremy has played some of the final release. I assume this is the official release. how are you liking it? How's it been? I remember enjoying it a lot myself, so I'm curious your thoughts on this final public build on 1.0.
Yeah, it's really good. I've been waiting a long time for this game. Hollowbody is a survival horror game. It's interesting. It takes a lot of cues from old survival horror, but it feels very much like it's also an incredibly contemporary survival horror game. Like there will be moments where, like in the intro, you're walking down a path and it's a very like kind of like semi-locked behind you, floaty third-person camera, like Alan Wake 2 or something like that. And then you walk into this kind of like scientific tent that's set up, like a research tent, and it immediately snaps to a fixed camera inside the tent. So it clearly is like, it's one of the things I find interesting about it is it's clearly taking inspiration from older survival horror, but it does not feel like it's not like handcuffed to the past. It's not doing those things because it's like, oh, this is what you do. This is what survival horror is like. It's doing them when it feels appropriate as an enhancer for like certain environments and stuff. But it is kind of nice that it has the best of both worlds, because like, even though Alan Wake 2 wasn't my favorite game or whatever, there were moments of it when I was, in third person looking around like a spooky house in the woods. And I'm like, oh, this is like, I got glimpses of a horror game that I really liked there and stuff. So Hollowbody it's also an interesting narrative conceit. It's kind of taking the traditional like plague outbreak zombie trope of like then a sickness started spreading and people started getting all fucked up. And it transposes it onto this like, kind of like Blade Runner-esque sci-fi, like near distant future. So what happens is basically that this is all in the intro too. I won't spoil anything beyond the first like 20 minutes of this game. There's a plague outbreak that spreads in like a part of the UK basically, and it spreads so rapidly that they just like wall off that part of the world. And
sounds
then
familiar.
They start dropping fucking orbital strikes, and they're like, they get all the rich people out, basically, all the like privileged people of import, and all of the people who work regular working class jobs just get orbital striked, I guess.
Oh man!
So there's an interesting kind of like political layer to this and stuff. In fact, I feel like I played the shit out of the demo for this game because I was really excited about this game, and the demo was sort of like the first chunk of the game after the like cold open intro. And I totally see why they set it up that way, because the intro is very much just like walking around, talking, looking at stuff. Like it's very, very slow and cinematic and measured. And I don't think it would have made for a good demo. I think if you were firing this game up for 15 minutes to see what it was all about, you would have done like 15 minutes of just like walking down a path while a guy is like, so what's the deal with you? What's your story? And I just like a demo should have gameplay. It should give you a flavor of like what it feels like to shoot stuff and stuff. But I will say that playing the full game and having a little runway, a little narrative context, a little knowing what the world is and stuff, it enhances the feel of this game so much. Because when I was playing the demo, I was like, this is really cool. And I'm getting little glimpses of the lore or whatever, but I want to know like, why am I here? Who am I? What's my motivation? And I needed a little bit more of that. So I was very heartened to play the full thing and be like, okay, it was just like, there was like a 20-minute chunk before that demo that it like leads you into it and it like gets you emotionally invested and invested in the characters and stuff. And the storytelling is fantastic. The opening reminded me of like is it Denis Villeneuve
Yeah.
who did Arrival?
Arrival. Yeah, I thought you were gonna say Blade Runner 2049, but Arrival, yes, yeah.
Well, okay, I forgot he did that as well. Yeah, so this has some Denny's sauce in it, some Denny's sauce, like the restaurant Denny's.
Love it.
Denny's Villeneuve. So it's.
I'm sure he loves when people make that joke.
I'm sure
he loves it.
I would love to meet him and shake his hand and be like, "Hey man, do you love Denny's? Because I bet you love Denny's,
right?
Because your name, right? I bet no one's ever said that to you.
Nope.
Yeah, the opening has this very sort of like sterile, desaturated, like empty cliffside landscape. It feels like Arrival tonally, and I think that's one of the things that makes this game really special. Is I haven't played enough of this to say like, oh, it's like the best narrative ever or anything. I think it's setting itself up to be very good in that way. But the thing that immediately struck me playing just the early parts of this game is that in terms of presentation, it feels like an incredibly well made movie. Like it's very cinematic. The art is like, it's fucking unbelievable. This is one of the best looking games. Never mind like best looking indie games I've played in a long time. This is like one of the best looking games, period, that I've played in a very long
The
time.
lighting, the aesthetic, just everything is,
The texture
they've nailed it.
painting is like fucking off the wall. So yeah, props to Headwear Games. They're cooking over there. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else to say without like being spoilery, but it's basically, it just seems like a very good survival horror game that is unbelievably contemporary and like high fidelity, and yet still captures a lot of the sauce of those older classics like Silent Hill and Resident Evil and stuff.
Yeah, the bit of the demo that I played was just like you're nailing every point of it. It feels like a PS2 game if we just never stopped making those games. Like PS2 was the best we ever got. This is what the natural logical progression would be for that style of game. I noticed while playing it also, the demo had these like the one puzzle that was in it, the one like big sort of like logical deduction puzzle, I found to just be very compelling. I can't really remember specifically why, but I feel like a lot of survival horror games tend to lean on the Resident Evil find a key, put it in the keyhole kind of gameplay, which I have no issue with. I just worked at an escape room for like 2 years. That was one of my first jobs. And I every time I run into those puzzles, I get like a mini panic attack. I want to be on the microphone like, no, that's not how you do that. Stop moving the table. Why would it be in the bed, you idiot? Like, I just want to do that when I'm playing those games. So this was a lot more my speed of puzzle. Like, I like more like deduction or thinking about it a little bit puzzles. And the one that was in the demo was a lot of like observing, getting a little bit of information, and just giving you enough stuff. Nothing really threw you off, but giving you enough information that you get to like sort of piece together the bits. It was sort of like if Resident Evil had more puzzles that were reading notes and like observing photos and coming to conclusions based on that sort of stuff. From what you've played, are more of the puzzles logical deduction, or does it lean more in that Resident Evil key sort of stuff?
A lot of what I played was the demo segment, because you play that cold open and then it goes straight into what the demo was. So a good chunk of what I've played so far was the demo section.
Okay.
So I haven't seen an insane amount beyond that. But yeah, no, I definitely think the puzzle design in this game is very thoughtful. It doesn't, sometimes you play, as much as I love classic survival horror games, sometimes you play one of them and you go into a room and it's like, Dr. Johansson was working on his most important science. And then you go in and it's like, all right, you have to finish his work. And it's just like pour the cup into the.
And his work is like a
basin.
grade schooler's toy set. It's like, put the blue block in the blue hole.
It's one of those things where it's like a star-shaped block, and they're like, I wonder which hole it goes in. And this one's shaped like a star. Yeah, no, the puzzles seem very well designed and thoughtful, and yeah, moreover, they're very immersed in the world, like you were saying. Like, I know exactly which puzzle you're talking about, and there's like a room you're in, and there's information about the people who inhabited that room, and you have to logically deduce the password to, I think it was like a safe or something, yeah, and it's like there's a hint in the room that involves the details of these people's lives. So you're kind of like going around looking at their photos, reading their documents and stuff, and trying to like reverse engineer like what, people make their passwords like their birthday, their mother's maiden name, stuff like that. So you're trying to like put it together in that way and put yourself in their shoes. Yeah, it does a lot of interesting stuff like that beyond the puzzles as well. I think that because this is sort of like I don't know what to call this, like a mundane apocalypse almost. Like the fact that people get like fucked up and turned into like zombies or whatever almost seems secondary to the fact that, like a government abandoned people and walled them in and bombed them and shit. Like that almost seems more horrific. Like the zombies are like, yeah, well, I know zombies, but it's like, whoa, they did that to these people? Like I could deal with zombies, but like, this is way worse or something. So it's interesting because you get little glimpses. Like there will be moments where your radio like lights up and you turn it on. You get these little like almost like audio files of like little glimmers of the past, and it'll be like an argument between a couple that happened in this apartment as the shit was going down. And yeah, there's this really interesting sort of like socio-political horror going on that's like a different flavor of horror that I've never really experienced. So it's a very unique game. It's got its own thing going on. And
there's that other game that you played from Red Candle, Detention, right? Or
yes,
Devotion?
I love that game.
Yeah, that sort of stuff where it's like acknowledging, or there's another game from this year. It's not quite a horror game, but it does play into that political sort of like, okay, the world's not just messed up because of monsters and zombies. The world's messed up because of people making bad decisions in 1,000 Times Resist, which I haven't finished yet. I'd like to talk about it rather on the pod here when I'm done with it. But I think there's a lot of opportunities to tell stories. I feel like in games we just kind of rely on either very simple visual things or like the writing is almost like too obtuse. Like we're afraid to just say like the government does messed up stuff sometimes. But also Resident Evil, I feel like, was there moments of like early Resident Evil where the government is like the bad guy? Does that happen at all?
It's been a while since I've played the
Umbrella,
original Resident
right?
Evils. It's more of like private corporations are evil, which is also incredibly true.
Totally true.
Yeah. I don't know. I wonder. Frank, do you remember if there's any stuff in early Resident Evil where the government is being permissive towards Umbrella? I don't really remember.
Well, it's like because they shut down the roads of Raccoon City, but also don't let the citizens leave the city. But it's also because the police chief is also kind of owned by Umbrella, so it's how complicit. I don't know. That was the main thing I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. Okay, so it seems like Hollowbody then is kind of like if they bombed the shit out of Raccoon City for 60 years and walled it off. Yeah.
Not just one time. They just kept doing it forever and ever. Yeah. Well, there's Hollowbody.
Anyway, Hollowbody is very good. It comes out tomorrow as of time of recording. So when this drops on Friday, it will be out. And highly recommend it. It is incredibly polished and clearly a lot of love went into it. And it has a lot of that Silent Hill sauce that I look for in a survival horror game. So check it out.
Yeah. Also the menu, gorgeous.
Oh, beautiful the menus,
menu.
dude. The menus and the sound effects is just like, it's just like this juicy, like retro futuristic, like cassette futurism sci-fi. It's just it's cool. It's cool to see a survival horror game do like science fiction in a way that feels a little different. It's the thing I liked about Signalis as well, is that it felt very much like a Resident Evil or Silent Hill game, but it was like, what if that was Blade Runner? And I'm like, oh yeah, what if that was Blade Runner? I'd love that.
There you go, Hollowbody. Check it out on Steam and GOG. Hot new survival horror. Love me some classics. Frank, while you were in Japan, it sounds like something you neglected to mention that we need to hear more about, because I think you talked about this before you left, was you visited the Earthbound Museum.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was, so this is why I love Tokyo, is every month there's just like a billion different pop-ups and exhibits and all this stuff. Like in my time in Tokyo, I went to the the Tokyo Arts Museum. There was a Clamp exhibit. Clamp is the collective who did Chobits and 6 billion other things. But the only thing I care about is Chobits. They did Chobits. They did Cardcaptor Sakura. So I got to see all this beautiful original manga art. I went to the Junji Ito exhibit. I got to see all of Junji Ito's original artwork.
Oh shit, that's
and
awesome.
Manga and like insane. I got to go to the Perfume exhibit. Perfume is like the best J-pop band ever. They're celebrating 25 years. I got to see their costumes. They had a whole room dedicated to their shoes. They had you could recreate music videos. They had posters, amazing. But the thing that blew my mind, I went to Shibuya, which is the Tokyo level that The World Ends With You is based on. So if you go to The
made
World
that in
Ends
real
With
life?
You, yeah. The World Ends With You level. In Shibuya, there's a famous shopping mall called Parco. And I think there's one floor where there's like the Nintendo store. There's the Capcom store. Also in the Capcom store, in the Resident Evil section, they sell like bath products that are herbs. So you can have like a packet of green herbs, a packet of red herbs.
Very nice.
So I thought that was cute. They have like Umbrella fake typewriter ink that I think is like tape, but it's like whatever. So much cute shit there. Pokemon Center, the Nintendo store. I bought a Diddy Kong amiibo. Lots of cool stuff. On the floor above, I didn't even know this was there. We stumbled into it. There was a Mother 2 exhibit. Oh my God. I took all the pictures that I was allowed to. In Japan, there's like, because there's, especially Tokyo, they know there's tourists, and they're very good at illustrating like what you can take photos of and can't. So anytime there was like the camera with the green circle, I was like, okay, boop, 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 taking a million photos. What blew me away with the Mother 2 exhibit, it wasn't very big, but it was, they developed and like put all of their planning documents. This is before they typed everything on computers. It was all like graph paper with pixel art illustrated. There was sheets of paper with like the math and notations done, trying to calculate like battle damage, like the script and all this stuff, and all this paper and artwork was just laid out. The physical models that they used for like the box art, like original Nintendo Power magazines and stuff like that. And they're just playing all the Mother 2 music, and it was like, I got like emotional. I was like, this is crazy. Like, oh my God, it was so beautiful to see everything. So it was just a small exhibit, but I sent every picture I could to Jeremy.
Yeah.
And then, so like, I don't know. That was just kind of the magic of it, is like, you never know what you're going to find in Tokyo. Like, it's just, there's so much cool stuff, but seeing a small exhibit dedicated to a game, it was like walking through a Noclip documentary. It was like, oh my God, there's like, it was really like, It was, and it sucks because like there's a lot of parts of the museum where you weren't allowed to take photos. So because of that, you are not allowed to use Google Translate to do the. So that's the thing that we use all the time. I use all the time in Japan and Korea is like if you have your phone, you can just take pictures of text and translate it. But in a lot of places in Japan, in a lot of places in Japan, you can't have your cameras, so you can't do Google Translate or anything like that. So I wasn't able to get the full experience, but I could still absorb it and appreciate it. But I thought that was like crazy just to see like, I mean, like, I don't even know. There's so many moving parts and different team members working on games, but it's like everything these days is shared through Slack and all this stuff. But to see literally just like the notebooks where all these documents were handwritten, it's like, oh my God, that's like nuts. And then they even have Suge Ito, who's the
Shukasato Itoi.
Yeah, they had his all the like, living members of the team had their autographs and doodles on the wall. It was like, this is insane. So I thought that was like a really nice little bonus that I discovered in Tokyo. Yeah, the Mother 2. And it's video game, centric. So I was like, okay, that's worth mentioning. But yeah, that was I don't know, that was worth discussing. So, and I think it travels. I think there was also a Mother 2 pop up in Osaka. Also, the Nintendo Museum is opening up in Kyoto. Which is I think like other side of Japan, which I think there's a lottery system to get tickets, so it'll probably be sold out for months. But yeah, they're opening the official Nintendo Museum in October, which sounds very cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, Frank sent me a ton of pictures, and I was like already getting emotional because Earthbound is like one of those games that changed my life. Like as a kid, I was obsessed with it. In fact, I don't know if I've told the story of the podcast, so I'll keep it to one sentence. But in elementary school, we had like a learning to write creative writing assignment. They're like, everyone write like a sentence and then draw a picture and illustrate it and do like a little picture book. And I just wrote the plot to Earthbound. I just illustrated Earthbound and just like, I was obsessed with it. So Frank sent me all these pictures and I was like already getting emotional. And then Frank, being the fucking biggest mensch in the universe, got me a Mother 2 notebook. And I swear to God, I'm not just like playing this out. I swear to God, I like teared up a little bit when you said that to me. I thought that was like so incredibly fucking sweet of you to like, and you're like, private vacation, doing your thing, that you thought of me. I thought that was very, very, very sweet. You're a good guy.
Yeah, well, that's my like favorite thing going to Japan is because again, it's you find such hyper specific merchandise. Like one of my friends, Kevin, who's like a wrestling cinematographer, he's obsessed with this one wrestler, Saya Kamatani. So anytime I find merchandise of this wrestler, I'm like, I have to buy it for my friend. So I come back from Japan, like I was at the post office yesterday shipping out packages to friends of like at the Nintendo store, I saw a Splatoon flyer. I have a friend who's obsessed with Splatoon. So I'm like, all right, it just like whatever. Another thing in Tokyo Nintendo was there's these like gacha machines at the Nintendo store. So I got like,
what is that?
Oh, that's sick.
Legit like a
GameCube fidget toy?
Oh
my God.
So
sick.
it's like I got some for my friend Carlos, and so he works at Sega's. I can't say that. That's brand conflict, Nintendo and Sega. So the first time I went to Tokyo, I bought so many presents for friends. In Korea, I made a really big point, and Danny was so sweet to drive us here, but it worked. Like I wanted to go to the One Piece store in Korea because I have two friends obsessed with One Piece, and I wanted to get them like specifically Korean One Piece merchandise. So I don't know. And I was specifically thinking of Jeremy too, like at the Earthbound thing and buying it because it's like, oh yeah, I got to work on Jeremy's Counter-Strike project. So part of that project is what allows me to buy Stardom, merchandise and everyone but Patreon, Noclip, thank you for supporting us. So it was like, no, for like 2 months I worked with Jeremy on the Counter-Strike project. It was like, oh yeah, please, like you're the reason I can, this is a job and being able to like do that. But not only that, but like I love Jeremy's Earthbound video on the Noclip Crew channel. And yeah, it's just everywhere you go to in Tokyo, the gift shops are insane. That's why like going to Japan, I leave my suitcase half empty because it's going to be overflowing returning. So it's there's so much stuff and I was delighted to. And yeah, the whole time as we're recording this, I've been like refreshing the FedEx tracking to make sure like, all right, is it showing up to Jeremy's house, stuff like that.
I'm going to run out when it gets here.
Yeah, so because I would love to see Jeremy, but also I know Jeremy is someone who is very also a writer, but also like prefers like physical media and stuff like that. So I'm sure they could fill it up with stuff or have their own game design docs.
Yes,
handwritten just like the Earthbound team.
I feel like there's nothing more appropriate to use it for than make it like my new game design notebook. I feel like Shigesato Itoi would be happy to hear that. Yeah, dude, I feel like what do we have to do to get Itoi in a room with a camera and honestly, like I don't know. I wonder if he. I don't think we've ever reached out to him, but he's like. There's like 5 people in the world who are my top 5 interviews that I could like my bucket list interviews, and Itoy is definitely one of them. I feel like that'd be so good. I feel like people just fucking would love that.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like the Counter-Strike thing is such a good, like, man, I feel like that raises the stock too. I feel like maybe that gets us in the door to more places, but like, I really, really like the idea of like that documentary of like not being able to do a whole Earthbound documentary or even a Nintendo thing, but talking to one person responsible and then sharing all. Like, I feel like we've had lots of projects like that, but
yeah, it's like a mini look, because it is intimidating. Like we talked about when I pitched the Dust documentary, doing like, could we do a full ass Counter-Strike documentary someday? And it's just, it's like an order of magnitude more work. And it's also like, you know, like it was a remote interview. Dave's mic wasn't the best. Like, thank you, Jesse, for processing the audio and making it listenable. You're a wizard. But yeah, there's just like, there's a level.
You're a wizard.
You're a wizard, Jesse.
Thanks, Hagrid.
I feel like when you do like these little micro histories, you can do it a little more punk rock and DIY, and it's like, you know, no one is like, what, you like shot the entire Counter-Strike documentary remote? It's like, no, we just did it's just the Dust thing. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that went well, because I feel like it's like, I don't know, it's sort of the biggest thing I've done, the biggest project that I've like led mostly on my own and stuff, obviously with immense help from the crew. But I feel like hopefully it lengthens the leash a little bit for me to pitch weirder and bigger, more ambitious stuff. Like
the Shigesato Itoi documentary.
Yeah.
Put that out in the world. Patreon.com/noclip. Support that doc if you want more. Yeah, I feel like it's cool too, because Mother 2, it's cool that you got to go to that, because I feel like that franchise in particular had such a hard time coming to the West. I think, Jeremy, you talked about that in your Noclip crew video. That just like the first one, the second one even come out over here. How did that work? Was Earthbound and
no, Mother 2 is Earthbound.
Mother 2 is Earthbound, and then Mother is Mother.
Mother is just Mother. There's it came out as like Earthbound Beginnings later.
Okay,
I think.
And then Mother 3 never got over here, right?
And then 3 has still never officially been released. And going to the Earthbound thing was like, okay, I gotta play Mother 3, because I've like started it on like a Game Boy Advance ROM forever ago, and like just gotta do it again. But that was like a long running bit. Like every Nintendo thing, people were like, all right, Mother 3.
Yeah.
It's, you know, who knows? And there was Mother 3 merchandise there. Also, the thing that was insane was like, my friends and I, we were, you know, front row, whatever. 11 a.m. raid walk and we buy. Within 5 minutes, the whole museum was filled. Like on a Friday, like people are just, so many people just flooding to this tiny Mother 2 exhibit in a shopping mall. Which also on the same mall, there was a Junji Ito x Hello Kitty collaboration.
Perfect.
It's just Japan has stuff everywhere. And also down the street from Parco is a Taco Bell in Shibuya. So I did go to a Taco Bell in Korea at the airport. It was my last meal in East Asia on this trip. And everyone in Japan, everyone in Japan was nice. Everyone in Korea was super nice. I was looking at the Taco Bell menu, just like, just seeing the differences. They had something called like a beer pack, which is like a burrito taco and 2 beers. And I was looking at the menu, and
awesome.
the lady at the Korean Taco Bell was like explaining to me what Taco Bell was. Like, oh, this is what most people like. And I'm like, and I was just nodding, like, okay, but like,
you're like, I'm from Taco Bell. I grew up at Taco Bell.
I think I said this. I don't think I said this I said this like in the car with Danny, but like, the Taco Bell headquarters is like down the street from Blizzard. All of that is like 20 minutes from me. I am down, the road from Blizzard, the origins of World of Warcraft and the origins of the cheesy gordita crunch. Like my
you
high
live
school,
in 2004.
Two equally important historical moments.
I know Taco Bell, but that's why I'm like I'm an unofficial Taco Bell ambassador, unofficial Stardom ambassador. I'm just happy to see, my culture's all around the world. Like I can feel at home in Tokyo because there's a Taco Bell Shibuya. So
I was thinking if there's a way we could make a Noclip doc where you get to do interviews with Taco Bell. They're right there, right? Has Taco Bell ever done video games? Turns out they have. They did some computer games. You're going to love these names. The 3 of them are called Moon Eater, Jumpin' Bean Jamboree, and Tasty Temple Challenge.
Oh my God.
The fuck? Oh yeah, they're like floppy disks.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's on Abandonware. Oh my God.
This seems like we have some work to do, boys.
Tasty Temple Challenge has one of the most disturbing
I hate how it looks.
Characters I've ever seen in my life.
It makes me really mad. Like you mean the guy on the left, right?
Yeah, top left. He's I don't
Mr.
even
Tasty.
know. I have no words to describe him. Well, Jesse, I'll grab this image so we can put it in the video.
Oh, don't worry. It'll be there. It'll be in the description. I'll put it in the video. Everyone can see.
Good.
Audio listeners, you'll be able to experience the Tasty Temple Challenge with us. No, that's great, Frank. I'm glad you had a good time while you're in Japan, because I feel like every time we talk to you, it's like, how do I get back there? What do I have to do? What work? Danny, if you need me, I'll do anything. Just let me go to Japan again. And it sounds like you had a good time in Korea too. It's somewhere I've always wanted to go. So, what was it like? I don't want to bug you too much about it, but what was it like when you got to Korea? What was it like, the experience of getting off the plane and everything and getting around? Where'd you go?
Korea,
Seoul?
Yeah. So Korea was interesting. We can't be too specific, whatever, but like, yeah, we were in Seoul. The thing that was blew me away with Korea is like, it's surrounded by trees and mountains. And so like even navigating it, there's a lot of traffic because there's just not that much space because there's so much nature and mountains, but there's a lot of like tunnels and stuff like that. But just seeing how lush everything was like blew me away. It was like, this is so, it honestly it kind of felt like being in Washington. There's just trees everywhere. I don't know. It was really, really cool. And like, again, we were there to work. Like Japan was my vacation and it was like, okay, Korea was there to work. So there wasn't too much time to like explore or do any nightlife stuff, but we did get to have one day to like hang out. So I got to go to Korea's Akihabara. So I got to go to this place. And again, Danny was happy to like drive me because we also just needed to shoot B-roll. So we went to this place called Kukje Electronics Market, which is like such an insane place. It feels like, you know, like in Star Wars, like where like the Jawas will collect droid parts and stuff, and there's just a graveyard of droids. There's like floors that's just towers of junk computers and stacks of monitors and stuff. And it's like, oh, this is the coolest place. And there's parts of Akihabara that's like that too. But the 7th and 8th floor of Kukje Electronics Market is all anime and video games. So it was really fun to be like figure shopping in Korea, like. Also to see like what's big in Korea compared to Japan, compared to US. I did find a figure of Haruhi, like a unique Haruhi figure, which I hadn't seen before. There was a Noclip fan working at Kukje Electronics anime store who spoke perfect English because I was with one of the remote shooters on our team, and the guy we were talking to us, and he was like, is that Danny? It's like, whoa, like, and I guess he had seen the Dredge documentary.
Oh wow!
And this
That's
guy
wild.
was so. This
what
guy
happened to
was
your
so
beard? Where'd it go?
Right? Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. So the guy was so nice because I was like, and I was just walking around, like everyone in Korea like is friendly, but it's like the guy made an effort to go out his way and asked like, oh, can I help you with anything? I was like, oh my god, like yeah. Do you have any K-On stuff? And he was like, K-On? That's old. Right this way. And he showed me like a stack of K-On stuff. And I was like, damn, this is incredible customer service. So thank you so much. So I don't know. It was, that was cool. We went to the real cool place is AK Plaza in Hongdae Street, which, that is like the hip part. There's also like, there's like a high school and a college nearby. So it's a lot like of anime stores, hip shopping places, you know, boba, tea. It's very much like, it felt like Harajuku. It was, that's where the One Piece Korea store was. That's where there was an animate, like a giant anime store, a weird like punk, like skate shop kind of. Danny found like a cool hoodie and things like that. So it was just, I don't know. It was so cool to like see different parts of culture that I also could identify with and feel comfortable and feel at home with. And it's like, oh, this is cool, but still being uniquely Korean. There was like a pop-up for a K-pop boy band with people lining up. There was like there were stores dedicated to K-pop and things like that. One thing I noticed with Korean fashion, especially the younger people, exclusively wear, and again, I shouldn't say exclusively, but the trend I noticed, everyone just kind of wears black, white, or like beige, like very like
simple colors.
Yeah, I guess like even a decade ago it was like known as like health goth, like that was the term. But it was like there was a store and it was just all white and black clothes, and it's like it was kind of startling to see because like, you know, especially in I'm always wearing like anime shirts and startup stuff, and it's big graphics, big colors. But you do see in Korea the ajumma, which are the Korean grandmothers who just so flashy. We saw an ajumma riding like a cart that was decked out like like just umbrellas and flowers and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. Korea was really sweet. Everyone was super friendly. I felt so bad that I didn't like pick up on the language. Like I was so hyper focused on Japan, but I don't know. It's same thing. Seoul is the major city, so people people are friendly, can speak English. So I'm very like I'm such a naive American by not learning or anything like that, but I really appreciate it. It was awesome. The food, the poke was amazing. It was also interesting to get insights on the gaming culture. We were walking around and we did see like a PC gaming LAN center that had Mario stuff plastered all over it.
Oh, great.
And then there was even like at the Cookshire Electronics Market, like I saw a box of Xbox 360 faceplates, which I kind of regret not buying one because that's such a relic that no one cared about.
Yeah.
But there was one shop that just had kind of like, I don't want to say junk in a negative way, but just like forgotten video game crap. I mean that endearingly. So I don't know. It was really cool going into Korea. I like because one of my all time favorite movies is Old Boy. Like I love Park Chan-wook.
yeah.
I'm such a dork for Korean cinema. When we were in Seoul, we drove on the bridge and we drove by like the famous this river, and I'm like, oh, that's the river from The Host. Like, it's just the river in Korea,
that's
but it's
awesome.
like it's literally the river that The Host takes place in.
Dude, that's the sidewalk where the guy spit in. You remember the scene?
Yeah. And we were at the convenience store. I saw the noodles that they eat in Parasite. But I wanted to look up Old Boy shooting locations, but it turns out like Korea's Hollywood is Busan, which is like the other side. So maybe there's a reason to go back to Busan, but it was really cool. And like, you know, part of it was the weird nostalgia where it's like, oh, I wish I could tell my dad, because a decade ago, or now 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when I was really getting into cinema, I would watch like we would rent like Korean movies off Netflix, and I would let my dad watch, and my dad would want to watch them too. So my dad ended up liking Park Chan-wook and Bong Joon-ho and Kim Ji-woon and all these filmmakers that were, you know, lodged in my memory space. And it's like, oh my God, I'm here. This is we were even nearby a Korean movie theater, and there was nothing I wanted to see, but if there was a new Park Chan-wook movie or something, I would have seen it even without subtitles. But maybe one day. So yeah, Korea was amazing. It was also cool, just like Japan. There would be parts where you would just see old temples and castles, and it's like, holy crap, this is so sick. So again, I can't reveal too much of what we were saying or anything like that, but it was so sick, and it'll be awesome to get Danny's perspective on stuff too.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Yeah, it was awesome. Also, soju is like $1, so it's
It's like water over there.
I drank so much in Korea and Japan. Like, I never drink to get drunk or anything, but it's, you know, it's nice having a buzz when you're on vacation. Oh my God. It was a lot. It was a lot.
And it's delicious, right? It's just so good.
It's very good. Soju is so good.
Did you get the
Soju's so
strawberry
smooth.
one?
Not, I wish. No, I just got the cheap one for $1.
Oh,
But,
okay. Just the basic one, no flavoring. Yeah.
Last thing, and thank you guys for indulging.
No, this is
I
great.
love to hear
I
it.
love
Yeah,
hearing
genuinely,
about
yeah. I love hearing your trip
in
stories.
Japan, before I was just looking for places to eat, and there's a chain, and I recommend this to everybody. It's called Sushiro Sushi. It is like the conveyor belt sushi stuff place in Japan. There's so many in Tokyo, but they were having a Street Fighter collaboration. So you would order a plate of sushi, and they would bring it out to you, and there'd be like little stickers of like Chun-Li or Dhalsim or people like doing fighting moves to the sushi, and like the presentation.
Am I supposed to eat this? Like,
And there's like Street Fighter music playing when you order the sushi, like dun 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 dun. Like this is like it was
when they put the Ken one down. Dude, so put the fruit and you just like put it down on the plate.
It was really that. There'd be sound effects. Like you would order off the iPad, and if you let it idle, it would just play a Street Fighter match. It's like, what the hell? So it was amazing. And every month there's new collabs and stuff. So Sushiro Sushi was awesome. So just to see all the Street Fighter stuff was sick. Like, man, that's why I can't wait to go back in January, because like, what new stuff will be there? Who knows?
Dude, that's the thing is like, I don't know. I feel like the relationship as a culture to video games is so different in Japan that you'll just have like a pop-up museum about fucking Mother 2, and it's I don't know. I was
just thinking, what's the American version of that, right? Like,
It's-
you know,
yeah,
if you were a
it's like-
Japanese person who came to America and you're like, when you go to Japan, Frank, you're like, oh, I can't wait to see all the media properties
Yeah.
that I really like. Like, you know, it's just normal for them. It's their culture. When they come here, it's like, I can't wait to see Ronald Reagan on stuff.
I can't
They
wait to
like
go to
do the
7-Eleven and get
American
a
flag.
Mario-themed slushie.
Yeah.
My favorite moments of that is I remember like being in a Japanese wrestling show, like the most niche thing, like north of Tokyo, Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling, TJPW, where even talking to the wrestlers to be like, why the hell are you all the way out here? There was a guy, like a Japanese guy wearing an AEW shirt. And I'm like,
Nice.
oh my God, that's
awesome.
you know, what's like, that's Western. I feel like I saw a guy wearing a Doom shirt are like not Quake. I know that we were just near at QuakeCon, but I think I saw someone wearing a Doom shirt in Japan. I was like, oh my God. Like, so anytime you see Western stuff, like our Minecraft stuff. Oh, I saw a guy wearing a Fallout shirt. I'm like,
cool. Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I feel like the equivalent would be like a Doom museum. I'm trying to think of early 90s like American games.
Yeah,
it'd be like Doom, The Sims.
It'd be like a Black Isle or like a Fallout museum, but it's not about like the TV show. It's about like Fallout 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like a booth at Comic-Con, and it's like
But just like the difference in how how I perceive those things, I feel like speaks volumes, because if there's like a Mother 2 exhibit in Tokyo, it's like a thing where it's like I feel like people generally recognize that as like a thing of cultural import, even if they're not into games. But like, I feel like if there was a Fallout 1 and 2 pop-up museum, like if I was like, Mom, there's the Fallout museum is happening, she'd be like, what the fuck
Ella Purnell going to be there? It's like, I don't care.
Yeah, is Walton Goggins going to be there? Yeah, I don't know. It's just like a different vibe. Maybe we'll get there someday. Maybe someday Planescape
Noclip branded. Make it happen. I could see it.
Yeah, well, they'll have our video looping in the foyer.
Yeah,
there is
Smithsonian.
Like, I think it's somewhere in Texas. There is like the video game museum. Like it's somewhere in Texas.
There's a video game museum in Oakland that Danny and I filmed a piece on. That was pretty cool. I think they shut down. I should know this. I think they shut down during COVID and put like a bunch of their stuff in storage, if I recall correctly. But the Maid. Oh no, maybe they're still doing their thing.
Let's go.
I wonder if there's like colleges or so. I feel like that's some student stuff that like people should just rally and just put up exhibits in your town. I don't know that I like it. Again, I went to so many museums in Tokyo that's like I know there's museums here, but I don't want to learn about tar and dinosaurs. That's natural history.
I want to learn about
I don't want. Yeah, natural history. I don't care.
Fuck George Washington.
Give me the ColecoVision. I want to see how you play it in television. Put that up on a screen.
Although LA does have the Academy Awards Museum, which has like it's just a movie history museum. I think there's a Spike Lee exhibit going on right now or something like that. So it's like that's kind of cool.
That's cool. There's good art museums throughout the U.S. like the MFAs and stuff.
I went to the Keith Haring exhibit a few months ago. A year ago, I went to a Beastie Boys exhibit in LA. I feel like New York has way more of an art scene. But yeah, it's out there. I just gotta be open to it. But I'm curious if people are listening or comment. Like, give us museum recommendations in your town.
Toronto's actually starting to pick it up. They're getting a lot. There was Toronto Games Week in the middle of the summer that was doing a lot of like historical stuff, like classic game consoles. But it's also just becoming more regular. The Art Gallery of Ontario was hosting an event for, I think Adam Robinson Yu was there.
Cool.
The short hike, it was run by the person who does Toronto Games Week. And then there was something else that was going. At my old university, University of Toronto, the Mississauga campus, Victor Lucas, the guy from Electric Playground, was the great Pog. That was awesome. He was so excited. Was hosting some conference there, and they were bringing a bunch of old magazines. I think he was dropping off a lot of his Electric Playground footage for the school to use, and like an archival video game thing. So it's becoming more and more popular, especially here, which is cool because I feel like Canada has so many game development studios, like an absolute ridiculous number of them. So for their history to be preserved and shown off is starting to be cooler and cooler. And I mean, yeah, I totally agree. I wish we had more video game museums or just like love for the medium in general.
I was just looking up because I know the MoMA in New York City has like a video games section and stuff, and there is quite an extensive list of games that they have featured on there, including like Dwarf Fortress, Katamari Damacy, Flow, Minecraft, Myst, Pac-Man, of course. SimCity. Hey, speaking of SimCity, can I rant about Will Wright for 2 seconds?
Yeah, of course.
I feel like I could save Will Wright. I feel like if you put me in a room... Okay, let me elaborate on that incredibly cryptic statement. So,
is he okay?
Wright, well, I don't know. Is he okay? That's what I'm wondering. Because Will Wright, one of my heroes, like totally, like for my entire life, this man has stood as like a beacon of pure passion for video games. I've watched a million game design talks that he gave in the 90s, and I just feel like he was cooking so fucking hard. Like he just gives talks where at like Stanford, where it's like relating to micro worlds, and he'll be like, yeah, this is how we like simulated the entire planet and like all the like tectonic shifts and the way it like impacts people's houses. Like just this insane, like brilliant, like he's just such a dreamer, kind of like Peter Molyneux, where like you look at Peter Molyneux back in the day, he's like, what if there was a game and it was the entire world? And you're like, fuck, this guy just like
dude, on my Pentium 2?
entirely within my Pentium 2 computer. So I have been watching a bunch of old Will Wright talks, and I feel like, okay, let me get a little manifesto-y here for a minute. You know how people are talking about how like AAA is crumbling and like the consoles don't have identity, and it's like, I feel like a huge part of that is a result of these insanely large budget projects that, because they're so large scale, because there's like millions and millions of dollars on the line and hundreds and thousands of jobs on the line, there has to be an element of them that is like financially safe. They have to make a game, and they have to decide what the game is quite early on in the process so that they can lock it in, they can do the art asset. Like you can't like make Horizon Zero Dawn 2 and then a year and a half into development be like, oh, we discovered like a new direction for the game. That's like, that would cost you millions of dollars. People would lose their jobs and their mortgages and shit. I feel like the way Will Wright was talking about games in the 90s was this like process of discovery where it was, he like some of the greatest games that Will Wright made, he didn't even know what they were as games. Like The Sims started as Dollhouse, and it was like he imagined, what if you were playing SimCity and you could zoom all the way into the micro level into someone's house. So it started as like just like house designing software where you could just like build houses and stuff. And then there was this spark during the process that it was like, what if this was focused more on the people in the house? And it started as Dollhouse. And then that idea kind of didn't resonate with people because it was like, why would I play with dolls? And it evolved into this thing that was like The Sims. And I feel like that is like, I feel like that, I've never worked in a AAA studio, but I get the sense that that is probably a level of openness that is incompatible with a like insane $200 million budget process of making games, because I don't think you can be like, all right, we got like 250 computer scientists on the line, why don't you guys like chill for 6 months and just like
fiddle around, just
like
see
make weird shit and make like a little, what if we just like build a little house and that's fun? Oh, it's not fun, but is there something fun about it? Could we like, I feel like there was a level of play in the way that he was discovering new ways to play that is kind of like missing, and I feel like that's why there's a lot of.
Is that his problem now, that he's not fiddling enough?
No, I'm getting around to that slowly. This is chapter 1. This is Will Wright's based, actually. Hold on. Yeah, chapter 1 is Will Wright is based. Chapter 2 is just kidding. So I feel like that approach is very like, I feel like it lives on a little bit in things like Dwarf Fortress and RimWorld and like games that are capturing some of that feel of like the thing that Will Wright says about his old games is that he was designing them like less like a game and more like a ball, where like you hand like a soccer ball to a kid and they don't have to like put it down and play. Like, these are the rules, like everyone stay in bounds and play. Like sometimes you just throw a soccer ball against the wall. Sometimes you juggle it. Sometimes you just like sit on it and try to like not fall off. It is like an open format play space. And so the way he talks about his old games is very much like that. They're like sandboxes to play in. And Raph Koster is another person like this who I've been listening to a lot of talks, a game designer who did Star Wars Galaxies, and I think he did Ultima Online and a bunch of other stuff. But he was like largely credited as the guy who invented the term sandbox games. And I feel like that like a level of imagination is kind of missing from games. But the last game that Will Wright put out was 2008, was Spore. And now he's working on an NFT game called Proxy. Which there hasn't been any other. Well, okay, here's what I want to do. Will Wright is like a brilliant man. I want to sit down with him in a room and I want to be like, Will, I know the NFT thing gets a lot of hate. I'm an NFT hater, but like, I feel like somewhere within you, there must be some reason you thought it was a good idea. Did you need the money? Was there something like, because he says that there was like a technological solution for it where he saw people in The Sims do these elaborate content creation things that they poured their life into for years. And he was like, if we did NFTs, then people could do like that, but like sustain themselves off of it. I don't think that's true, but who knows? But anyway, I think, Will, if you're listening out there, let's hang out.
I can fix you.
I remember reading a book about comedy writing, and Bob Odenkirk talked about this philosophy is like, when they were writing Mr. Show with Bob and David, he would want to hear out every sketch idea, even if it sucked and it started bad. He would be like, no, there was a reason you wrote this. What was the core nugget, and then he would try to extrapolate that, and then from there build a new sketch out that. But that's it, where it's like, yeah, there's something that sparked in his brain. What was that? But like that philosophy works. That's what Bob Odenkirk talked about. Is like, no, dig in, cut the crap that doesn't work, the NFT stuff. But like, why does this spark to you? I totally get that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, I feel like that's in keeping with old Will Wright's like 90s Will Wright's ethos too. Is like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a level of like meditative patience where you have to investigate ideas playfully and creatively and see, like, let them unfold and blossom a little bit, and not constantly be like, all right, so is this a $200 million game? Do we have a $200 million game here?
It's weird because I think that is happening. There is that level of fiddling. I know that when Bungie had their big layoffs recently, there was talk about them having a couple incubation teams that were working on like really original different projects that were not anything like Destiny, which is cool. Like, yeah, I totally like that's I think what we're supposed to be doing, right? You can't figure out what Destiny's going to be if you don't make 40 bad things that turn out, and one of them turns out to be Destiny later on. But like you said, the question that comes at the end of the incubation phase is this a $200 million idea? Not is this like the return on this might be like $100,000. Like we can't have mediocre returns. Everything's got to be big, baby, because everything takes 6 years. I can't let you spend 2 years fiddling and 6 years making it if I'm not making 1 billion human being dollars. Like that's, yeah, it sucks. Anyway, Will Wright, yeah, seems like an interesting character. I forgot what he looked like. I had to look up a picture of Will Wright, and I was like, this man looks like he has a secret.
He looks like a guy. He looks like, to me, he looks like what he is, which is like a toy maker. Like he looks to me like a guy who,
he looks like if he was alive 200 years ago, he'd be woodworking. He would have made Pinocchio.
He'd be wearing like a striped like Sleepy Time cap, and he would be like carving like a toy. He seems like the guy you'd meet at the end of a kids movie where they were like, he's the ultimate toy maker. Like he's like the architect, and you meet him at the end, and he's like carving a little wooden train, and he hands it to you.
Exactly. He's the guy who worked for Santa Claus. He put all the things together.
he's the guy who manages all the elves in Santa Claus Workshop. But anyway, yeah, I've just felt very inspired by Will Wright's perspective on games back in the 90s, and the way he had this like incredibly like the word that keeps coming to me, you know how people say like doomerism for like the world is fucked and everything is fucked. I feel like Will Wright is like the antithesis of that, which is like dreamerism, which is like he's like I don't know why that
bro
cringe
so
ass
hope
word.
cord. Let's go.
He's hope pilled and based.
Yeah.
I just feel like the way he talks about the future of games is like there's like an alternate, you know how like Man in the High Castle, they were like, what if the Nazis won? And it's like that. I feel like my Man in the High Castle is like, what if Will Wright's game design philosophy became like what AAA was about, instead of this is the last thing I'll say about it on my fucking manifesto rant, is like, a part of the reason is that it's much easier as a business model every generation to be like, it's the new PlayStation. It can pump even more polygons. We're going to get more fidelity. We're
tracing so many rays.
Exactly. And it's like, it doesn't make for better games to have just higher fidelity. And I wish that the on the slider between like time and energy spent on like weird innovative game design that risks being unfun or bad or too frictional or whatever, versus like, let's just improve fidelity. I wish we were less concerned about making everything look hyper realistic and more concerned about just like what types of games don't exist yet, and what kind of weird shit could we try.
Well, actually, that's a really good point, because we were talking about Astro Bot, and I made a funny joke reference that wasn't funny about the new PlayStation 5 Pro being announced and costing $700 US. The reaction to that has been obviously very negative. People are like, oh, PS5 Pro, I'm not spending $700 on that. To play what, 2 games? PS5 has no games. And the whole thing is like, oh, it renders the games better. They look clearer. You don't have to choose between performance and fidelity mode. But this is coming, like the news for this is right on the heels of, again, Astro Bot, a game that is so joyous and so simple. Like it's not, I'm sure on a technical level, it's doing a lot of very interesting things, but the things it's doing are like driving joy. They're not like rendering people's skin cells. I can't count the pores on the face of Astro Bot. I mean, I'm sure they're in there somewhere, but like, it's just a beautiful looking game. 60 people, took them a handful of years, like a relatively small team of people who use the hardware and the technological improvements of the PS5 to make these games that like the best part of Astro Bot is when you do anything and like a bunch of useless physics objects show up and you're like, yay, like all these little balls are rolling down the slide with me, or like I'm kicking up all these leaves and they're each individually animating, and like it's useless like visual fluff, but I would rather we use all these teraflops and gigashits to like do that rather than render every pore on Marcus Phoenix's face. I just don't care. Like that's not, and I was thinking about that with the PS6, like what you're saying, like when we get to the next iteration of these consoles, like what are we gonna fake come up with this time? Like this time we're rendering it stereoscopic. You can look at your TV and everything's 3D. It's like, man, can we just fucking make some fun video games?
The core with like tech stuff for me is I want fast load times and 60 frames per second.
Yes.
I don't like.
And
I don't
we're there.
care about.
We're there,
yeah,
right?
Right.
Like,
So
we
I'm
don't
like,
need.
yeah.
What do we need next? What are we gonna do with the PlayStation 6? Like, who cares?
For me, I like give me a PlayStation that can play PS3 games on. You know, I
That
hate
would have been
loading up
worth
my
$700,
right? Or
Yeah.
That's it. That's why PS5 is great. You can play PS4 games, awesome. But I want to be able to play PS1, PS2, PS3 games on one device.
Yeah.
Oh my god, why can't you just do that? Whatever.
I think here's what Sony, if you're listening, here's what you do. People don't want to pay $700 for your console.
No.
Just cancel the PS5, cancel the PS6, cancel
It's
no
X
future
time, baby.
consoles. We're shut. No, there's no new Xbox either. Xbox, if you're
come
listening,
on.
cancel the new Xbox. Just start releasing games for the original Xbox and for the PlayStation 1 and 2.
Hold on,
and
you're
then
kind of cooking though. That would be really cool.
Let's just like take 20 years off of new technology. You can make computers better, that's fine. But we don't need to. That's optional. And we just get back to real meat and potatoes. Just make it, because like I've been playing Metal Gear Solid 1 a little bit recently, getting back into it, and I feel like Kojima could have made Death Stranding 2 on PlayStation 1, and I think like in terms of like physics, like Kojima is an exception to this a little bit, because I do feel like Death Stranding was like, what if we leverage technology to do like ridiculous balancing and physics simulations and climate,
And
like
also render everybody's pores.
and also render Lia Sedoux's like eyes in
I can see
incredible
every strand of
fidelity.
hair. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like there is a little bit of that. I just feel like if you could measure the amount of like, this is the bar graph for how much like performance capture and visual fidelity and seeing every pore on Kratos's chin makes me feel joy for video games, and then this is the bar for how much like game design and like doing weird shit mechanically makes me feel those things. I feel like it's disproportionate that like performance capture is maybe like 20%. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's cool that like I could see the actor so well and like they're so expressive, but it's so disproportionately less than what I feel when I have an experience where I'm like, wow, this game is like letting me do, like, that's what's special about games. Like it lets you do fucking weird interactive shit. Games are not special because they're like emulating cinema with ridiculous fidelity. They're special because they're interactive and they're playful, and they let you like explore rule sets and worlds and simulations, and like within those frameworks experiment. And I mean, that's why people love fucking immersive sims so much. That's why people are obsessed with immersive sims, is because they harken back to that game design ethos of like, what if you give the player a rule set and let them push it as far and hard as they want in any fucking direction. And I just don't, when I play God of War 2018, I don't feel that at all. I feel like I'm like on a fucking like It's a Small World ride in the cart, and I'm not allowed to take my arms or legs out.
Oh, this is the hell part. Oh, this is the Midgar part. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Where we stop
no
for
shade
snacks?
no shade to God of War 2018. It's a fine game.
I love that game. That's the thing.
I'm not.
No,
shitting on it
I'm
or
not.
anything.
How
It's
dare
just a
you be
different
rude to
flavor.
the video game that I like, Jeremy? We can't be friends anymore. No, who gives a shit? The video games, like, they're made by talented people, made by people who know what they're doing, and they make great stuff that people like and people buy it and whatever. But also, I'm 100% with you. I kind of just wish I had another PS2 God of War game. Like, these new ones are cool, and I like that we can like zoom in and see all the acting. But man, I don't know. It was cool doing a little arena fighting and doing the big swing and the chain shit, and like, oh man, stuff's exploding. Anyway, moving on. Emails this week. Not this week. There were last week's emails that we didn't read because we were too busy coming up with very funny video game movies, including Silent Chill and something else. It was a Mario.
thank you to
how to blow
everyone
up a warp pipeline. Yeah, all the kind
Thank you to
words.
everyone who listened to me and Jesse ramble for 2 fucking hours about that. It was a lot of fun.
It was a fucking blast. We got to do another one of those. That was genuinely so much fun. Especially, it would be great if we could have everyone there, because I feel like the creative juices were flowing with just the two of us. So I can't imagine what we would be able to do with Frank and Danny present for that one. But yeah, we got an email that you dropped in here, Frank. If you want to read that out for us.
Yeah, and thank you, everyone. And yeah, if you want to send us emails, podcast@noclip.video. Also our Discord if you're a patron, and the podcast chat. We have actually had a lot of emails over the last few weeks, but it's also kind of hard to discern, like, oh yeah, I pulled one that was already covered a week or two ago. I've been out AFK for a bit, but this one's from a bit ago, but it's so impassioned. I just wanted to give a platform to it. This is from Taylor Danton. They wrote in, Warhammer 40K Marine 2, the hype is real. Even the subject there, I will editorialize and say that feels like a gaming journal, like a old school 90s
That's a Kotaku
game mag.
article, yeah, for sure.
So I like that. Warhammer 40,000 Marine 2, the hype is real. Recently, I was listening to Jesse talk about Warhammer Space Marine 2, and he was concerned people might be getting a little overexcited for the game. The IP has been around since the 1980s, as Jeremy discovered. Since then, the amount of lore that has spawned about this property is immensely deep. I'm talking Mariana's Trench style deep. You can research and watch videos and read books to your heart's content, and you will still be scratching the surface. Warhammer fans go hard. For the past 30 years, there hasn't really been a great shooter-style game in the Warhammer universe. Space Marine 1 was a breath of fresh air, and recently, Warhammer 40K Bolt Gun breathed a little bit more life into that for us, but it was just an appetizer. In a world where most of the games centered around Warhammer 40K are fucking turn-based tactical games, which is the goddamn tabletop game to begin with, we have been screaming for a next-gen shooter where you're a Space Marine just ripping and tearing. Hence why the hype is so strong for this game. Love listening to you guys. I've been big fans for a long time. Keep it up. Taylor, I love the energy.
Honestly.
You're almost getting me. Is Warhammer 40K like a Left 4 Dead 3 players got to kill all the things, or can you do it single player? I don't know the juice
This one
about
is
this game, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. It's out now. You can buy it and play it. It's available on everything, I imagine. Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, probably. I don't think it's on Switch, but whatever. Yeah, it's funny. I think my expectation was still right. So I was saying on the pod, like, I feel like people were assuming too much of the game, or if they had a reasonable expectation, it wasn't quite reasonable enough. It's gotten really positive press, and like the reviews are really good. And I think what Taylor's speaking to, and what I'm seeing from a lot of the reviews, is if you like Warhammer, this is probably the most Warhammer a video game, especially 40K, that a video game has been ever. Maybe. I know Space Marine 1 was kind of fine. I played it. I didn't think it was anything outstanding. I think this one at least looks a lot better and plays okay. But to answer your question, Frank, this one's like a co-op optional third-person shooter kind of thing. It plays like Gears of War without cover, basically, is how I would describe it. It's a lot of just shooting hordes of enemies as they come towards you, doing a lot of set-piece moments. There's literally, when you're playing Gears of War and there's like a look at the thing button. This says like a look at the thing button. Watch the cinematic thing happen in the background. It's a lot of that, and I think it's just like a very Xbox 360 game. A lot of the reactions I've seen from regular ass people who aren't like reviewers or big fans of Warhammer, people who like Warhammer 40K are also regular people. It's just like this is an Xbox 360 game. I feel like I'm playing, a third person shooter that wants to be Gears of War and isn't quite doing exactly what it was doing, but it's still fun. I can't speak to it. I haven't played it past the demo that I played at Fan Expo, but I thought what I played there was like solid structurally. But again, the big takeaway is I think this is probably a Warhammer dream, or Warhammer fans' dream. And if you don't know anything about it, it seems like a really good introduction to Warhammer as well. You'll find one little thing. I've seen so many screenshots on Twitter of like one little thing that somebody who knows nothing about Warhammer sees, and they're like, what is this? This is a baby robot angel with wings? Like, what is this and then you Google it, and suddenly you're buying minifigures and painting them. So if Saber has succeeded in making something that gets people interested in playing Warhammer, I think that's worthy of applause, absolutely. And I think if the game is just okay and like fun and gets you through a weekend with some buddies, then they've also achieved something there. So good on them, and congratulations for all the positive reception. Do you guys have any interest in playing this game at all? I know, Frank, it sounds like you want to a little bit.
It looks kind of cool. Like, I mean, just because in my head, I'm like, oh, will this not melt my Steam Deck because there's so many enemies on stream? But it kind of reminds me of like Dynasty Warriors, which is the massive amount of things. I'm looking at gameplay. There's so many crawling like aliens and freaks. It's very like Spawn, Todd McFarlane. Like this is, I don't know. It looks cool. I'm always hooked on like progression. Is there XP? Is there loot? How's it look? How's it work?
You can customize your whatever they're called. Space Marine, I guess.
This looks kind of tight. My question is like, do I get this on Steam? Because I mostly just play PC games for fun and when I'm traveling, but I am doing traveling a lot. But this would also be sick on PlayStation or Xbox. There's no way this is Game Pass, right?
No shot.
That's always my default.
Let me see if it has crossplay. I feel it probably doesn't. I got to read through 90 AI-generated articles to find the truth on this one. Invite friends from other platforms. Yeah, crossplay. So there you go. You don't have to choose.
Okay. All right, it is crossplay. I'm interested. Yeah, it seems like it just came out a few days ago. It's got like 40,000 very positive reviews on Steam.
Yeah.
There was one review when I clicked on Steam that like that subject was sick. It was let me pull it up. It was, "Listen, brothers, I have waited more than 10 years for this game, and by the Emperor, it delivered." With some minor flaws. So, hey, you know what? That's
Hulk
good enough
Hogan
for
wrote
me.
that. Thanks, pal.
Yeah,
Appreciate
listen,
it.
brothers.
Listen, brother.
I waited 10 years.
The performance on this game's mediocre.
This game.
Here's the problem, though. We are now entering, I don't even know what we call it, backlog hell, backlog joy. There is 6 billion games coming out. Because I just got Astro Boy. Excited to play Astro Bot.
Yeah, I wish there was an Astro Boy game. I played the hell out of Astro Boy game.
Astro Boy.
Yeah.
Astro Bot just came out. I'm excited for Dead Rising remaster, remake, whatever, in like a week or two. Lollipop Chainsaw Remastered's coming out. And then in October, we got Silent Hill 2. We got the new Persona Metaphysica, whatever it's
Refantasia, right? Metaphor Dave Bautista or whatever.
The new Persona game. He's been in the news because he dropped all the weight and now he just,
dude, he's not juicing anymore. Oh man, I can't watch him in movies.
He's still got swag.
Yeah.
But he's like, now he wants to be an actor. He's cool. Whatever.
He's a fantastic actor. Who cares? He doesn't need to be.
So
big.
now's the time where I wish list a bunch of stuff, and then Black Friday comes around and stuff's like $20, and then you just boom, 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 boom. But I'm you know what? I like the email. So it got on our radar, and it's cool to talk about it. Yeah, Warhammer just seems I love hyper fixating on stuff. So it is very fun to like just to talk about Warhammer 40,000 because it's like I think I've played. Was there a game called like Necromunda or Necromunda or something
that sounds
that
right.
came out? I played. That was all right. That was kind of fun. That was a Warhammer game, I think. But I don't know the design of the stuff. Yeah, it's very Gears of War, very Todd McFarlane, very early '90s Image Comics, which is like guns and guns and guns and chains on chains and it's like skulls on everywhere and it's like, yeah, this is like not I was gonna be like a middle school like notebook dream of like skulls, but
it is a little bit.
No, it looks cool. I get it.
Dude, that's like that. Not to fucking invoke Will Wright again. I'm not gonna drag us back into that, but no. It was like one of the things he talked about was making models as a kid, and he wanted to make games because he was like, what if you could like models are physically modeling things like trains and tanks and shit. What if you could like bring that to life? And I feel like that's like that's like kind of what video games are for a lot of the time is like, what if the toys played with you? You know what I mean? So I feel like if you were super into Warhammer, that's kind of the dream is have like a game where you're playing as one of these toys and everything is like simulated. Because I don't know. When I was a kid playing with like Playmobil castles and stuff, I was like, God damn, I wish the siege was happening on its own and I was defending against it.
Well, if I can bookmark it with something that it is relevant, that's how I feel about this K-On! Game. I don't even know what it's called. It's like it's all in Japanese.
There's a sticker
but that's
over half
exactly.
of it.
I'm keeping the trader sticker on because it's like this was what like $18. So this is an HD remaster of a PSP game, but it's exactly that where it's like I've been watching the show K-On! It's fucking girls making a rock band in school. Same stuff as Bocchi the Rock. Like every 5 years, there's a new anime with girls with guitars. Awesome. I like it. It's cool. I just wanted to play a K-On! Video game. Oh my God, this is Rock Band, but K-On! But it's
fun.
You're using your controller and no peripherals, but it's like great. It's music videos. The music of K-On! Is so good where it's like, I'm a happy boy. This is awesome. So I get it. If you like, that's why sometimes licensed games are awesome because it's like, yeah, I just want to play a Spawn video game. Cool. I want or whatever. So I got to play a K-On! Game. I'm happy there's it's also good when your property is respected. So I totally get the synergy where it's like, yeah, this is awesome. So Warhammer fans unite. Maybe I'll be one day.
Blood for the Blood God. I think that's Warhammer.
I
don't know anything
that feels
about Warhammer.
right. That feels right. Blood for
I don't
the
think that's
God.
40K though.
Let's find out.
I think that's vanilla.
It's all the same thing. Isn't 40K just the future version of Warhammer?
Blood for the Blood God. Also, when I was Googling Space Marine 2 while you were talking about it, I typed Space Mario 2.
Just pretty much Galaxy.
Yeah, that is Galaxy too, yeah.
Space Mario 2 is already out.
every time we say 40K, it reminds me in early days of message boards when threads would have 56K warning, screenshots, 56K warning. So 40K is a lower internet connection. 40, yeah. Oh my god.
Okay, here's an explanation from a Reddit comment. Khorne, in particular, is one of the 4 chaotic gods. Khorne, in particular, is known as the Blood God, and often Chaos Marines in the video game series, most notable would be the Dawn of War series, will chant blood for the Blood God.
So are you saying corn? That's the name of the...
It's Khorne. It's
the freak on a leash?
I can't imagine that it's pronounced any way other than corn, but with like a hard Hasidic like horn.
Yeah, corn. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's Warhammer. Well, I think that's a good episode. I think that's a great place to stop, is learning that there is corn in the universe of Warhammer, and
they
not
worship
the edible kind.
him.
Yeah, they were
corn for the corn god. What about that?
That's right.
Follow the leader.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Noclip Crewcast. This has been episode 193. The games we talked about this week were Astro Bot, Hollowbody, Earthbound, and then the museum that stored it. And then non-video games include Japan and South Korea, and Frank's time while he was there. We have a lot of stuff in the pipeline. Noclip, we're always working on a lot of stuff over here. Danny and Frank were out filming stuff. Can't say what. Danny's currently filming stuff. Can't say what. We have a lot of stuff that is like, either at the starting line or really close to the finish line. So it's always like that over here, right? We always got tons of projects going on. But in the meantime, you can check out Jeremy's doc on, the whole team, but Jeremy's doc that he led on Dust 2. It's over on the main Noclip channel. We've got a lot of stuff coming up. Like I said, the next fest is next month in October. We're going to be probably doing something for that. I am a little preoccupied this month, so I won't be able to catch up with any early announcements or demos that devs are putting up. But I would definitely love to do another one of those. I think those are a blast to do. We have a new episode of Dear Dwyery going up very soon with Charles Cecil, the lead on Broken Sword and Beyond and Beneath the Steel Sky from Revolution Software. So we've got a lot of stuff coming on that. And I imagine Danny's probably got a lot of tape stuff sitting back home. So tons of projects coming out in the near future that you can check out. And you can also support and help make those projects come out even faster. That's not how that works, but help us make sure that we can do them properly. If you support us over at patreon.com/noclip. Fund the documentaries, fund this podcast, fund everything that we do, fund our trips to East Asia, help us buy more fun Japanese video games, anime-themed video games.
Get us in touch with Will Wright, maybe?
That's right. Shigesato Itoi. Let us... Whatever we have to do to make more documentaries about Japanese game developers and bring Frank along for the ride, I think we should do that. So, again, that's patreon.com/noclip. What are your guys' weeks look like now that you're back, Frank? I know you're getting ready to go back on a flight, but are you doing anything before heading out again?
Like even today, it is my mom's birthday. So
happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Frank's mom.
No, yeah, it's exciting. Half my town has been evacuated because there's like a
I saw,
fire.
Yeah.
In Trabuco Canyon, there's a massive fire. Like it's what is it? Brush fire season here in California. So like I can't ride my bike. I mean, there's way worse things people are dealing with, but I can't ride my bike because it's you can't breathe the air outside because it's ashy and leading to sore throats. So I've been getting voluntary evacuation notices. It seems like it's calm, but the first day was like terrifying. Whatever. We're good now. So. I don't know, kind of just in a loopy delirium with jet lag until I get on a plane again. But I don't know. I guess just enjoying life. I feel good.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. You should continue to do that because we think I think everyone thinks that you should have a good time. And people were just talking, by the way, about how exciting it is whenever you go to Japan. The imagined excitement that listeners were dropping comments on YouTube about you having a good time in Japan. They're like, every time, I think one of them was like, every time Frank shows up at Japan, I just imagine he just goes, yeah! Like just the whole time you're there, like the yell that you did when you were at Summer Games Fest. So yeah, keep loving life, Frank, because we love when you love life. And Jeremy, what about you? What's your week look like?
Let's see. I took it a little slower on editing last week because coming off of the dust thing is like, yeah, I don't know. It's very, very taxing for me as like Danny is so gregarious that I feel like when he gets on camera, he's just like, I'll just be myself and like puts on the charm. For me, it is very like psychologically draining to be like, okay, I have to be on camera. I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to fuck up all my lines, but I just have to. So like coming off of that, and it was just I kind of like collapsed at the finish line and did a bunch of just game dev and hanging out and going for walks last week. So this week I am going to carry on editing Secret Project number 4,072, which is I I don't want to hype it up because I can't talk about it, but it is going through the footage of this particular project. It is maybe one of the most exciting things that we've ever done on Noclip. So
I don't even think you're, just to be clear to the listeners, I don't think Jeremy's even joking with number 4 billion, because he's talking right now and we talk every week about what we're doing and I literally can't figure out which one he's talking about.
I'll tell you after recording.
Okay, we'll find out.
But
eventually.
it is
you
is,
will find out eventually also.
It's going to be very, very exciting. So yeah, I'm going to do a big editing push the rest of the week, do a little more game dev, watch some more talks where Will Wright is like, so if you just simulate the entire universe in a computer.
I have a secret that I don't want you guys to find out about. He just has that look. I don't know. I'm going back to it because I don't know if I was clear. He has that look to him. He's got the Riddler look, where it's like he has.
You think he's like a supervillain?
Totally. I could absolutely see him foiling Batman's attempts at foiling him, counterfoiled.
See,
by Will
I
Wright.
think here's his arc in my mind is that I sit down in a room with Will Wright and I'm like, Will, are you really all about this NFT shit? And he's like, Jeremy, I've been surrounded by crypto bros, and all I needed your pure spirit, your pure love of games to shake me awake. And now I realize that all I need to do is make games that.
And then he pulls a lever and you fall into a hole in the ground.
And then he's like, I fucking got you.
Yeah,
piece
you
of
dumb
shit.
bitch.
I'm gonna turn you into an NFT. No,
I minted your ass. What are you gonna do about it?
I just need to reach his soul, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, there's a man inside me who's just carving wooden trains, and he needed to be freed." You know what I'm saying? That's a metaphor.
Oh, Will, let Jeremy save you. And yeah, this week I will actually let him save you. I will not be here next week. Just to be clear, we're having our wedding celebration. Oh my God, finally. We got married like months ago now, so I'm so over it. But no, we're having
Congratulations, all the same.
Still appreciate it. Thank you so much. But yeah, we're having our little celebration. Rented an Airbnb out by a fake beach because it's not at the ocean. It's only at a lake. And we're just going to have a great time. We're bringing family and friends. And I will not be on the pod, but I believe I don't want to make any promises on anything. Never mind. There may or may not be an episode next week. It just comes down to whether or not Frank and Danny have the time to fit that into their very busy schedules. So if you miss something next week, apologies. If something's there, also great. Whatever happens, just know that we appreciate you being here and listening to us this week and all weeks and future weeks. And we'll see you next time for episode 194. Have yourselves a good time. Bye. Bye. I'm so glad Frank's back also. Yay.